Welcome to Peace Within, the journey of forgiveness. I have Andrea. Did I pronounce your name right?
Nope, but it's okay. It's regular.
Oh,
That's normal.
how we pronounce your name right?
So it's Andrea, but my mom say Andrea, so I'll take it. But
Oh,
Daddy said my name is Andrea, and since he named me, I have to go by Andrea.
oh,
So you're good. You're
Andrea.
good. Yes.
We got it right. So tell us, who is Andrea?
Well, born and raised from Detroit, we say we were imported from Detroit since we were like the auto industry. But I've been here in the DMV for 20 years. And I've been teaching since 2004, a teacher of mathematics, and teach middle school now. And I'm a wife. I have two uh, little babies, and then I have two bonus kids with my husband. And we dwell on the Maryland side of the DMV. And I'm happy to be here. I love God. He is amazing. The only reason why I'm able to live and breathe. And I've been in ministry, I guess you would say, since I can remember. Just being a little girl directing a choir at age maybe 12 was the youngest, directing like, come on, everybody sing. And so it's just, you know, ministry is messy, but I'm so happy to be in what I call this mess.
Okay. I like how you said ministry is messy. Can you give us some explain what do that mean to you? Because we have our own definition. Because I know.
So like when I say ministry is messy, anytime you're dealing with people, it's
Mm.
gonna be a mess. Like people come with their own like set of ingredients or a set of baggage, if you will. And if you mix all of that stuff together, it gets really messy. And so for you to really hone in on it, you're like, oh my God, I'm a mess. But for me, God made this mess. It's the dark lines, it's the red lines, the white lines that make me beautiful. And so, whatever that looks like, we have to know that we are a masterpiece. So, God can take all of our messy parts and make them a masterpiece. And sometimes we just have to be willing to allow Him to have the paintbrush, even the paintbrush of our ministries. When we're dealing with all of these people, you're like, oh my God, I got all of this going on. And yes, it's messy, it's cluttered, it's a lot going on. But if you say, God, here is the paintbrush, you take it and you can paint it just like He's able to paint the beautiful sunset with all of those mixtures of blues and pinks and sometimes looking like purples and violets. He can make your ministry look like that. And so that's what I mean. It's a mess because it's people. But if we allow God to be the master, and it'll end up being a masterpiece.
I love that you said that because also I say, teach me, show me in this mess so I can become better and
Yeah.
become a better leader too. Because sometimes you have to watch leaders orchestrate that mess and allow God to use them to bring that mess to something beautiful, like you said, a beautiful portrait. So, tell us what made you start this journey of forgiveness?
Well, that is like loaded, right? Forgiveness for me has been something that I've dealt with over time. As a young child, I was molested by two adults, and it was like when you go through that, you don't know what's happening. You're a young girl, don't know what's going on. You have no idea what's what, and when a child is affected at a young age, it causes them to be lost in a sense, and not know their identity or know like who they are. And then you go through the blame train. You don't know what's going on. And so like I think it was 2017 when I was just sick of being depressed and sick of being like this was pre-babies now. So I was sick of all of the, I don't know, how you just know that there's something up. You're not really fully yourself, or you're smiling through it, but there's like an inner something. It could be an inner darkness, or you get in those dark places, but then something can bring you out, but you know you're not whole, or you know you're not fixed. Like I had went through counseling and all these different things, and you try to be in relationships with people, not just like a boyfriend, girlfriend, but like even friendships with people, and you're not really you. You haven't really been made whole. Sometimes it's hard to maintain relationships with people. And I'm like, God, what is wrong with me? Like, I would have that question often over the years. And in 2017, in that summer, I call it my healing summer, I had to really face some of the things that I hadn't faced. Like, I realized that I had resented my mom because I felt like she didn't protect me. You know, why was I the one touched and all of this? And I realized I had blamed her, you know, and I was just like, and I was just able to talk to her. And then I remember being in her house, talking to her. And then I went downstairs and I came back up. And then we had just had like a deep conversation about what happened, because she was like, are you going to finally tell me what happened? And I told her. And then when I went downstairs and came back up, she said, you know, let me say this. I'm sorry. And then at that point, you know, honestly, I wasn't looking for her to say sorry. I was so sick of being like this way that I was just like, I'm like, ooh, once I got it out, I was just like, ooh, I'm good. And I really felt good. But when she said, no, I'm sorry. She said, let me say it. I'm sorry. I apologize. Because when I first told her, when I had remembered years ago, it was almost like I was like, you know, dismissed. And so when you perceive, I'll say it that way, when you perceive that you're being dismissed, because maybe you wanted them to have a come to Jesus moment, y'all cry it out, and they didn't receive it the way, you know, they didn't tell you sorry the way you wanted it. You can perceive that you're being dismissed, but it's possible that you weren't, and you just didn't hear exactly what was being said. So that's why I say it that way. But I heard her. I'll say it that way. I heard her say, I'm sorry, for the first time.
The connection. You having a connection issue. He'll come back on. Guess we having a connection issue, but actually, Andres actually dropping some gems, because sometimes we do have this expectation when we open up to people and we want them to give us that emotion that we think that we want them to give us, but then they give us another emotion. They might be shocked, but like she said, it could be received as being dismissed, and they just, or they taking in the information that they have, that they are that they are receiving from you, and going through their mind and analyzing it or thinking about it. So sometimes when you're opening yourself up to people, sometimes be more open to how they will respond to you, so you don't react in a negative way, or you don't hear me, you're not receiving me, but they will how can I say, they will react in their way, not the way that you want them to react. And we have to understand that, and we have to open up and be honest with people and just allow them to have their own emotions, because as you're speaking to them, you're having your own emotions. And this is where good communication comes from as well. When we're communicating with others, when we're talking to people, allow yourself to get out the box and allow yourself to pray before you communicate, so God can open all your senses so you can be receptive to whatever comes your way. And sometimes people can be in denial too, and you're understanding like they are in denial, and just keep yourself grounded and not react in a way where their denial is bringing up anger in you. And just allow yourself to say, you know what, they're their own individual, they'll receive it how they want to receive it. And sometimes things take time, especially when you're in a difficult situation, when you're in a difficult topic like molestation, or people dealing in marriage, and they coming together and they coming from a hurt place and they trying to communicate. Sometimes it's best. my opinion, I'm just going to say my opinion, it's best to have a mediator, someone who can say, everyone stop if it's a lot of noise, a lot of argument, a lot of back and forth, and each parties are not listening to each other. And this is a step when it comes to the journey of forgiveness, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, allowing ourselves to let go of whatever that's going to block us from hearing and seeing and sensing what the other and what ourselves are putting out, so we can get to the bottom line and heal. So you guys understand that peace within the journey of forgiveness is also a process for yourself and a process for others. Because sometimes if you're coming to a parent, now they feeling like, dang, I failed my child. And now they having all these other emotions. And then sometimes you're dealing with parents who are in denial and feel like, I was there, you should have said something. But they not coming from a perspective of understanding what a person or what a child does when they're in that situation, because you don't know what you don't know what the person who harmed you is telling that individual. They could say, hey, you tell your mom or dad, I'll kill them. Or it could be a person that's very close to the family, and you see that your family members really love this person, but behind closed doors they doing other things. So I open up to you guys to understand more and more of how to communicate. We are good. I just was talking to let them know, just giving more insight of what you were saying. Because actually, before you dropped off, you was dropping some gems. Because when people communicate, some person, like you said, can perceive, and you can perceive, and that can be a miscommunication. But go ahead.
Can you remind me of the last thing you heard?
Yeah. So you were saying how you was opening up to your mom because you first had a conversation with your mom, and you didn't perceive it as her asking for forgiveness or saying she's sorry. But the second time you really heard it. But the first time, you said you heard it, but you didn't perceive it.
Yeah, and then when I actually heard it, it was like I know that I needed that, and
Yeah.
so then after the moment with her, um, I had a come to Jesus moment, and God was like, "You now need to forgive me."
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Huh?" I had to of who I was and who He is, and that perception led me to believe Him to be like an ogre in the sky,
Mhm.
and He's not an ogre in the sky. He loves us. He loves us so dearly, and so God said that I needed to forgive him. And I'm like, huh? I need to forgive you? Yeah, I needed to forgive him because in my perception, God was this ogre in the sky that allowed this to happen to me.
Mhm.
And he had to who he is. He's a loving father. And he loves me. And he adores me. And he wasn't absent. He wasn't just looking down. He had to bring it full circle so I can see that he wasn't up there while it happened. He was the reason why I was able to be alive while it happened. He's the reason
Mhm.
why I was able to be sustained while it happened. And then he began to take more blinders off and show me, you see this person I put in your life? You see this person I put in your life?
Mhm.
This person I put in your life? I put these people in your life so that you would not die. There were so many times where I felt like I was going to die.
Mhm.
And I didn't want to live because I
Mhm.
didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to live because I didn't think there was a purpose for me in this earth. And he strategically put my friend Alethea in my life. She met me at a time where it was just like I was so lost as a 12-year-old, just lost, not even remembering what had happened to me at this point. because sometimes traumatic experiences, you don't know them right away. You don't remember them. And then something that happened that'll trigger that memory, and boom, it was like, just like it happened yesterday. She was there for me. I remember my aunt being there, my godmother being there. And the Lord was saying, like, I strategically placed these women in your life at those pivotal points where you were so lost. And I had to go on a space where I began to, talk to these women and say, thank you for being there. It's not that I never had thanked them before, but God had revealed to me this new space that they had filled. And he was the one that opened their hearts to me and opened them up to me to be that motherly figure I needed, or that mentor that I needed at the time, because I wasn't receiving from my mom at the time. So I was just like, man, he really had me. And then he showed me how, when he moved me out here, he put me at a church where I had a bishop, a man in my life that could really show me, how to be a daughter, how to really be around, men, because my stepfather had died and my dad was, all the way in Michigan. So now I have this man here to really be a godly figure in my life. And I was just like, man, I kind of felt like, I don't want to say stupid, but it was just like, oh, you really did all of that, you did all of that for me. And it was to a place where he had, I write. So I write music and I also write poems. And so I wrote a poem called "Your Sin Was Against God," because he said those people didn't just sin against you; they sinned against me when they did those things to you. And so that song, and I had invited one of my good friends from worship study school to. He was like, I can't do no music to this, but I got another friend who can. They did music to me speaking, the song, or speaking the words to "Your Sin Was Against God." And I was just so grateful to get that out, because it was just something that was just burning on the inside. And I just thank God that I had that revelation that you didn't just sin against me. You sinned against God. And so feeling like God was in my corner changed my perception of who God is. If you don't have a good relationship with your father or a male figure in your life, and you are in a space where you don't really know who God is. So my question to you and those who are listening is, who is God to you? Because sometimes your perception of who God is not even who he is. You got to really chew on that one. It's not even who he is. Selah.
Yeah. Period.
Who is he? Who is he? Sometimes we familiarize ourselves. So like, my boy, that's my dog. Jesus, my home. And then you be mad when something happened and be like, wait, oh yeah, God, you're sovereign. Oh, I'm sorry. Because sometimes you have to watch just even how you perceive him, period. Yes, we are friends of God. Yes, but he's still sovereign. He's still daddy. He's still father. He's still going to tell you no, because he's real. He's not one of your fake friends. He's going to still tell you no. You know what I mean? So like that kind of, you got to really be able to balance that perception. And if you think you got him figured it out, you definitely need to get another revelation, because he is so multifaceted.
Yeah.
None of us can figure him out. No. Think about Moses. God didn't even show Moses his face. That's how grandiose our God is. You couldn't even be in the face. I don't even think we would survive in his essence. So, man, I got chills with that. Amen. When we really think about who he is, we gotta watch ourselves, because if he had to hide Moses in a crevice, and he said, you will see my hind parts. You will see me passing you by, but I'm gonna let you be in my presence. But you can't survive fully in my real presence.
Yeah.
So like we serve a mighty king. And so we have to watch how we perceive him, you know. So I had to forgive God and then forgive myself. And it was just like forgiveness. But forgiveness is just not like a one-shot deal, because sometimes, you know, you might have those emotions that might come up again about those things. You gotta forget. I had to forgive my abusers and stuff, and then sometimes you see them in a different light, and you're like, you know. But I'm like, you're like, dang, did I forgive them? Because I'm like, still, you know. And it's like God is like, you lay it down again. Don't keep rehearsing the moment. Don't keep rehearsing the trauma. Forgive again. Forgive again. Forgive again. And I think that's kind of probably what, I don't know who it was. Don't quote me. How many times, I don't even want to say the name. How many times are you supposed to forgive? It might have been Peter.
Yeah.
Who was it?
I think it's Peter.
Okay. So Peter, how many times are you supposed to forgive?
70 times 7.
He's like, 7 times 7? No, he's like, no, 70 times 7. Oh, I'm like, sometimes you're forgiving that person for that same thing over and over again. And it's like, now I got to the place where you might have wronged me, but every time I think about you, and I'm not perfect at it, but when I think about you, instead of, yeah, so-and-so did this and she did this, and I'm like, you know what? Bless her. Bless her, Lord God. Whatever she needs. I just begin to pray, because I'm like, the enemy wants to have you stuck in a cycle of unforgiveness. And I'm not going to just allow you to wreak havoc in my mindset, you know, about somebody that might not even be thinking nothing about me. So I need to go ahead and pray for that individual and move forward, move on with myself, you know, so that I can do something right. Because you can't even get through nothing or get to the next level if you holding unforgiveness.
Yeah. I like that you brought up Peter and the 70 times 7, because repetition puts you in something and makes it natural. When you
Yeah.
start to do it over and over and over and over, it's going to start become natural, and then that's going to be your habitat. You know, that's just going to be your nature to do, like forgive. That's my saying. Brush off your shoulders, like Jay-Z. Just brush it off your shoulders and keep moving, because now it's showing you how you can stand strong in God through forgiveness, and not allowing it to push you back to a place that you don't want to be there no more, you know.
That's
And like
right.
you do the cycle. But if you continue to forgive, it's just going to become naturally. It's just going to be a natural thing. And I'm glad that you said that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
It is definitely, you know, hard when you're like in the middle of it, but it is something that you do have to do, like you do exercise or do, you know, work like you do a muscle. Because like when I went through postpartum depression, if we fast forward to 2021, I underwent a lot with my bearing my first child. Was struggling even while carrying the baby with depression. You know, me being a first time pregnant person, didn't really know how I would be. But when I had him, had my son, after I had him, you know, they kept saying like, oh, after you have a baby, you go through what they call a fourth trimester, where your body is kind of trying to get back to where it was. So you might have a lot of hormonal changes. Like I was flashing, I'm hot, I'm cold, and you know, you might be still screaming and crying and all these different things. But they say if it doesn't go away, you know, then you need to seek help. And I had heard this before, but not as much as maybe some other people had, but it wasn't going away. But not only wasn't it not going away, I was having ill feelings towards my child. And I've been an educator for over 20 years. And so the last thing that I would ever think to do is harm a baby. And when I was having, you know, those feelings, because even while I was carrying him, I had really bad feelings of suicide. And I would have to really pray to God to ask me, to ask him for help and to help me. Cause I'm like, I'm carrying a baby that I know you want to bring to the earth. So it must be, a reason why these thoughts are so like prevalent. And I will pray over my baby, pray over my stomach, like don't allow this baby to experience these dark moments and these feelings of suicide. Don't allow this to be his portion, and I will be praying over myself. And then after he came out, I'm feeling suicidal again and feeling like, the thoughts to hurt him. And I said, oh no, something's not right. This is not okay.
Yeah.
So I had to, seek the help of doctors. Yes, it's great to try to pray, but sometimes you do need to seek help. And then, my husband, he wasn't really understanding. So, he wanted me to talk, but it's like part of the symptoms of postpartum depression is you can't talk, but you're blowing up on the inside. People like, just communicate. And I'm like, inside, I'm like, like this how I felt inside, blood boiling, everything. But on the outside, I was just like this. And sometimes it'll come out in tears, but I couldn't speak. Couldn't really speak. And so, like, he is doing the best he knows because I'm not saying anything. But then internally, you kind of want them to be like, don't you see that I can't do anything? Don't you see? And nobody knows what you're really feeling unless you're speaking. But you can still build up resentment to those around you. And so, you being a married person, you got to communicate, you got to come together, and I'm like, I don't want to come together. I don't want to do anything. I just want to just be left alone. Don't touch me. Everybody just stop. Because I felt like I had nothing to myself anymore. Like my body wasn't mine. And then how dare you think my body is yours? Like, don't you see this baby on me? Don't you see? Like, it was just so many different emotions. And when I finally felt like I was coming to myself, I got pregnant again.
You finally let them touch you.
Come on. I'm like, and I knew something wasn't right because I punched the trash can. And I was like, God, I finally came to myself and now I'm punching trash cans. I took that test. Boom, pregnant again. But because of what I had went through with my first pregnancy, I said, I'm not doing that again. So I started putting stuff in place, made sure that I had my weekly, counseling sessions in place. Me and my husband had our counseling session in place, just so that we had, an arsenal of help around so that I wasn't going to do the same thing. And me and my husband had to go through a healing journey because there was a lot of things he did not know about postpartum. And, when he finally came to a revelation about it, he did feel bad. But, in my mind, because I was still, unfortunately, I went through postpartum again with my second child. I'm like, it's too late now, but God had to still, and he's still working through all of these things. Like now, I can't say I came to a place of I've arrived, but now I understand from my husband's perspective better. Maybe not, fully, but if somebody doesn't know, then you can't really, what you gonna do? If they don't know, they don't know. And so now I do know, like, you got to try to be more open. These need to be regular conversations, just like we're talking. We need to have a conversation about it. Excuse me. Excuse me. You got to be able to talk about it and have a conversation about it. And then be open to forgiving, Because if not, you're going to end up staying bitter. And with what I've learned about not just postpartum depression, but regular depression. If you allow depression to take a seat, it's gonna and it's gonna put the seatbelt on, and it's gonna get some anchors. It's gonna have an anvil, and it's gonna take a seat. And so, if you know anything about depression like me, you got to be like, as soon as you feel it, hey, I'm feeling depressed. Hey, Portia, I'm feeling depressed. Hey, so and so, I'm feeling depressed. You're not saying it to just anybody. You're saying it to the people that you know gonna pray. That's gonna get you out that house. That's gonna come in there. If you gotta cry it out with them, they're gonna cry it out. If they see that your house is a mess, they're gonna help you clean it up. They're not gonna let you stay. Because I'm telling you, if you let it take a seat, it's gonna take a seat. And if you hanging around those people that just want to talk about something, it's gonna take a seat. If you just talking about, like, I could have got on the phone talking to people about how stuff was going on in my house and all of that stuff, and they could be like, yeah, so and so, so. It's gonna take a seat. It's gonna take a seat. So with postpartum, like, yeah, I had those times where I could vent to the counselor, but we have to come up with some solutions. You know, some godly ones. You know, because otherwise, you know, it would have went a whole nother way.
Yeah. That's why I like for me now, sometimes when I look in the mirror, I just start talking to myself. Portia, you are. Portia, you can. Portia, you love. Portia, you got this. Portia. Then I have scriptures everywhere. Then I have, I used to have, did I take it there? I can't remember, because sometimes you can bypass it. So sometimes you got to bring yourself back to look at these things, or I'm going to just say scriptures or words to bring you up, to uplift you. And I will have, before I walk out the door, I will have you are loved, or love yourself. And then I'll have another saying at my door. Try to look at the door, I can't even see it. But it says something, thank you. Something's good is gonna happen to you and through you. So that's my mantra, like something's gonna happen good. Because you know, the person always thinks somebody you about to fall in a ditch or something. So always like something's good gonna happen. Expect the unexpected. Expect something good. Expect the beautiful. Look around. That's why I used to take walks sometimes too, to just look and be like, oh, look at the nature and just find beauty in anything and everything that I see. Yeah, but you're right. You have to work your way through it and have people that's educated or willing to work with you and not allow like, God dang, you're not out of it yet, you know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's the last thing. That's the last thing that you still dealing with that? Lord. Come on. That's the last thing that you need to hear.
Oh
Oh, I
man.
thought you'd be over that by now, you know. And so, like, my husband's perspective had to actually shift, you know. He had to shift concerning it, because he when I talked to him this morning, you know, I said, hey, I'm coming on here to do the interview. I want to know how open you are, you know. And he was like, be real. He said, because I really just didn't know. He said, the thing is, you don't willingly just want to hurt the person you love. You know, he said, but he just didn't know. Because, you know, he had to go through too. Like, I now see, you know, that he was going through something too, because he's looking at me like, what's wrong with you? And I'm not saying anything. And then, you know, he's like, part of him probably thought I was faking, you know, because the emotions were all over the place. And when I really felt like he didn't understand, that was like a ding. That was to be sure. I just really wanted to be sure that he, you know, got it sometimes, but sometimes he just didn't understand. But you also, if you're not talking, how they gonna understand? If you're not sharing, how they gonna get it? And then I would be able to share with other people because I felt like the space was safe. And so, you know, if I had advice for anybody, I would say make sure, you know, if you can, you know, have people that are your safe space, preferably your spouse, you know, so that you're not talking. I mean, of course, your counselor can be a person, but I mean, like if you have people that are non-counselors, preferably your spouse or somebody that's really close, so that you can again get out. Yeah.
When you're getting married and having children, because I'm listening, should people start preparing for this just in case?
I mean, I would say everybody needs to make sure they have a therapist, a Christian therapist for me in their back pocket, because sometimes you just don't know. You just don't know you don't know what you don't know. But you should put a contingency plan in place if you are getting ready to have a child. Like in the African American community, people don't want to go to counseling. I mean, that's
That should
crazy. That's crazy, but it's like there's a lot of counselors that don't just go straight to prescribing medicine. And I think that's sometimes the fear that people have. And if you have a church family, your pastor can be, a good resource for you. But if you want it to be outside, because some people, if you're in leadership, sometimes you want to make sure that your counseling is outside of the pastor. But if if you're a lay member, talk to your pastor, if you're in leadership and you feel like that's too close to home, or no matter if you're lay or leadership and you feel like it's too close to home, find you a good Christian counselor. I say Christian because you don't want it to just be somebody that's going to say, oh, you crazy. Let me give you this drug, this drug, this drug, this drug. Because sometimes you might feel crazy, but you're just trying to figure it out. But
and also tell them, well, also when you're seeking a therapist, sometimes don't give up, because it's like building a rapport, a relationship. Sometimes the first therapist might not work. Say, okay, this is not going to work. Let me find another one until you find the right therapist. Because some people will get up like, nah, I don't know, this ain't working. And now they over it. But people have to understand, you just find a counselor. What they say, people always say, that gives you good energy, or y'all energy match. That's what people say. But find a, you got to work through that until you find that counselor and say, you know what, this is a good fit. I feel I'm very safe, or they get me. Because sometimes, people don't get it. Could be an age gap,
yeah,
a race, sex, because sometimes men don't want to go to women. Men rather go to men, or women rather go to women, or women are more open to women and men. So that's a good thing. But sometimes it's just a lot of dynamics, and sometimes they got to keep going and going until you find the right therapist. And that's also with church. Don't give up. Oh, I ain't going to that church. So they find the right church. Pray. Ask God to guide you in these directions that you are going in, to find the right source in your life.
Yeah, I agree with that. I did not land on this counselor first. I had other ones. I had some in Michigan, and I came here and I had one. It didn't really work out, and then the second one, I felt like she was trying to treat me like, "Hey, girlfriend," and I'm like, "Oh no, that wasn't working out." Because all of a sudden she started telling me her problem. I'm like, "Oh no, that's not what I'm here for," So I had to. So now I'm more grounded where I am now. And I also learned through pregnancy, there was an inner strength that had me being more of a self advocate now. I never thought in the life of me that I'll be telling somebody, "Excuse me, don't you touch my baby." That like I'm like, "Excuse me, man, you still trying to touch him?" Like, back up. Like it's. I didn't think I would ever talk to anybody that way. I would be like, "Oh, you could tell." I'm like, and so now, now when I'm even in my counseling session, I was like, I don't want to say his name, but I'm like, Pastor so and so, that's really not helpful. I'm just really upfront about it. Like, Pastor so and so, that's not helpful. Don't do that. That's not gonna help me. I need something that's gonna help me. Like I'm really willing to like speak up for myself. And here's the thing: we gotta take the stigma off of being able to speak your mind. It's so many different. I know we have to have tactfulness, but sometimes that boundary that we've built up, because everybody feels gonna be hurt, they feel it's gonna be hurt no matter what you do. And so you just kind of have to just go ahead and speak it. And then I'd rather ask you for forgiveness later, because I gotta just speak what's right here. You know, I've raised my hand in meetings now. Excuse me, that's not true. I just go ahead and just speak it out, because it's like I don't want to be held up anymore. You know, and it's like with forgiveness that kind of helps you to be a little bit more free. And I want to be all the way free in all of the aspects. So I'm not sitting there bound, because unforgiveness will bind you up, because you be sitting there just all bound up, and then it turns into other things. And I just like, if you want to make, I mean, this is a bad reference in this sense. If you want to make a good stew or a good sauce, you want to let it simmer. But if you let it simmer too long now, it's going to be bitter. It's going to burn, and it's going to be bitter. So you have to really, you know, I said bad reference because it's like, yeah, you could get some good sauce when you let it simmer. But if you let that joint simmer too long, it's going to be bitter or a burnt mess. And I don't want to be bitter and burnt and, you know, on somebody's cooling board with all that stuff that I just wanted to hold on to, when I could have just let it flow out of my life as easy as it flowed in. And that's one thing I could say I learned from my mother. Like, you know, when I look at her now, I'm like, if she got a problem with you, she gonna tell you right now. She not waiting. And it's like, and she does it in her comedic, comical way, you know, but it's like she got it off her chest right now. So it's not like she's not gonna go home with this. And that's the thing is, like, I feel like with her, she said what she got to say, so she's not harboring unforgiveness. You know, so it's like you say something like, "Excuse me, why you say that to me like that? Let me figure it out now." Because I want to make sure we good. Like, I even did that to a girlfriend recently. Well, she's a colleague, but we're close. And I'm like, "Look, when you said that, what you mean right there?" Because I'm thinking I thought we was good. She was like, "No," I said, because I said, "Look, I want you in my life, so we need to fix this right now." So I didn't want it to, I didn't wait a whole day. I didn't let us go home and come back. I dealt with it today. You might not be able to deal with it right in that moment like my mom can, because sometimes people think she's too much. And sometimes it's too much. But if I see that it's too much or I'm about to be too much, I'm going to give you your space. But I want to fix it today instead of going home with it. Because then you go home with it, you talking to your friend about it, they going to give you another perspective. You talking to yourself about it, you going to give yourself another perspective. If you just talk to me about it, then we can go ahead and work it out. Because it's not worth holding things anymore.
And that's a healthy lifestyle you have. That's healthiness.
I ain't there yet. I'm trying to get there. But
you work into it, you know, working for being healthy, you know, not bringing anything that's going to, you know, put you back into whatever depression or whatever the mental health that you was dealing with. You know, you're, what it's called, put it on the forefront, you know.
Yeah, because it's too much. You got too much going on in here, and it's hard to, I don't want to hold it no more. I just don't.
I'm glad, and I appreciate you letting us know and educating us and giving us some insight in your life and letting us know that you don't want to hold it no more. And that's part of peace within the journey of forgiveness, letting go so God can be glorified in everything that He does in our lives and helping people to get over it. You know, we don't want to go through these things, but if we're going to go through these things, we need to allow people to know, how did I get through this? You know, so you don't have to continue to go and dig yourself or simmer and dig yourself whole and be burnt and, you know, bitter. You know, we don't want bitter, and God tell us not to have bitter. And also, it will open me up to forgiveness was, how can I forgive you and you didn't forgive them? And I'm like, you know what? Let me get off this mighty high horse. Let me get off this mighty high horse. Because I know I've done some things. Woo! I know I've done some things, and I'm not tactful, so I have to wait. Because if I say it, they be like, Portia, do you know what you just said? I'd be like, oh, my bad. So sometimes I gotta wait and say, how can I say this without really, you know, going in on this person? So for me, I can't blurt it out right then. Maybe sometimes I might, and they be like, my bad. I just got to get it out, and don't take it a hard way. But this is how I'm feeling. But you only can do that with people who really know you.
That's
Sometimes
true.
with people who don't know you, gotta be like,
Give
let
me a
me
minute.
let me call you later. Let me call you later. I got to get off the phone because you don't know, the rawness of me. But before we get off the line, can you tell us what would you say to the little girl inside of you?
I probably would say to her, number one, it was not your fault. um, it's gonna be okay, and God is with you. He's not apart from you, and to just hold on.
Thank you for that. And understand too, people, the young or the little girl, the little boy inside of us, we still fragile. We still supposed to have people to protect us. And also, it's good to open your mouth. Do not be afraid if something happened to you. Do not be afraid
Yeah.
to tell somebody immediately. Almost got tongue tied.
Okay.
Fast as you can. And even in that moment, and you feel like you're being silenced, find the strength in you and just yell at the top of your lungs.
Yeah.
Just I almost cried at that moment. Just yell. We have power in our voice, and nobody can take it away. They think they can take it away, but
Mm-hmm.
they're suppressing it with the power they using over us. But you, as a young person, as an older person, whatever you're going through, find the power within you that God had already put in you, and scream out the top of your lungs. Tell somebody and allow God to go with you as
Yes.
you're walking this walk of unveiling what happened to you, because you should not be ashamed. Sometimes they try to make us feel like ashamed of ourselves, but no, you
Or put a
are,
threat. Or
you,
threat. Or
yeah,
put a threat. You know.
yeah, yeah, you're not weak, you're strong. And these are the things that you can work through in your life so you don't come into a depression state. And don't even be ashamed if you're depressed. Because that's what I heard when you said you open up to people. So you wasn't ashamed. This is alert, alert, alert. How can we allow people in if we not telling the people what we're going through? Do not go through anything alone. God put people in our lives for a reason, and you said it in your testimony.
Yeah.
So everybody, I just appreciate that you was patient with us. God is glorified because the message still came through. We
Amen.
fought it through. Our second time. We fought it through. We fought it through, and take it seriously, y'all. Peace within the journey of forgiveness. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And also drop a comment because we can help you through your journey as well.